Welcome back to Fi Friday Feedback. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you had a chance to watch episode 6 of the Fi Crash Course, Ways to Increase Your Income. Here at the Fi Guys, we're all about the middle path, trying to find the balance between two opposing opposites. And I think that most people, when it comes to financial health, they talk a lot about budgeting. Budgeting, you have to budget if you want to be good with money. And budgeting is a great foundation. Having a good spending plan, knowing where your money is going is so important. And you need to also be able to increase your income. Because if you're looking at just one side of the equation, it's going to be really, really hard if you're not looking at the other side, because there are two levers that we can pull from to help us along this path to financial independence. There's actually more than those two levers. But for a discussion of this, there's two levers: how much money we're spending, how much money we're making. And how much money we're spending, well, that has a floor. At some point where we're using toilet paper, where we're using paper bags, we're sleeping on the floor, we don't want to be at that point. But when it comes to our income, that can grow indefinitely, but how much we can spend goes down to a floor where I don't want to know how low that goes. But I do want to find out what's the upper limit of how much we can make while still living a good life. So with that being said, Dominic, I'd love to cue you in to see what you thought about Monday's episode.
I loved Monday's episode. It's one of my favorites from the Crash Course because, as you know, I love the side hustle. I love getting out of the norm. I love breaking free from the W-2. To me, I think it's a prison, but hey, that's just me. That's just my own bias, and that's the prison that I've kind of built in my own mind, right? It's the world I live in. But maybe that's not your world. Maybe you love your W-2. And to you, I say, that's amazing. Congratulations, right? But there are ways to get to this financial independence faster. There are ways to accomplish your goals faster, right? And I always believe that you find your best self when you're a little bit anxious, when you're a little bit nervous about starting that new job, starting that new side hustle, starting a new business, buying a new business. Talked a little bit about that one. That one wasn't in the original Fi Crash Course, but it is in this one. When you are challenging yourself and challenging the way you think and challenging the scripts that you've been taught your whole life, I think that's when we can better understand who we are and who we want to be. And when we're suffering, trying to figure out what side hustle should I do? Should I do the rip and pull? Should I do this one? Should I do that one? The more time we can spend with ourselves, by ourselves, understanding ourselves, the easier life can get. In a sense. I don't want to say that, he who knows himself has a peaceful, chill life and is chilling on a beach, right? But he who knows himself understands that the beach was never the goal. It was just a facade. And Chris, you can kind of speak to that, correct?
Yeah, I can speak about thinking that if you have this certain number in the bank, once you have this much money, once you have this career, once you have all these things, then you'll finally feel like you're worthy, like you're enough, like you've made it. And then you hit that number and it's a very lonely day, or that whatever that goal is, it's a very lonely day when you realize that I have all the things that I thought I wanted and I'm still here. And it's still not enough. And you can either come to that realization and say okay, so maybe there's a deeper problem, or you can say, well, then I must have set the number to the wrong thing. And then you go for doubling it or tripling it or quadrupling it. And that's just a life of discontent.
And that's why on the podcast, we talk about so much about finding your why. I mean, it's one of those things that we really try and just grind into your head, get it into your head. I want you to go to bed what is this why? What is he talking about? What do you mean? Right? Because to us, the saddest life in the world is one that you've spent decades building only to get to a destination that you don't truly love. And when developing the right goal, you have to start with the right why. And you only can know the right why when you know yourself. So we hope that you're taking the time each week to really be alone with your own thoughts. No TikTok, no stimulation, no music. Maybe you're on a walk. Maybe you're meditating in a dark room. Maybe you're on a massage chair. I don't know. But it's so important to really understand who you are. And the only way to do that is to be with yourself. I mean, I might be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there is another way. If you guys would love to drop it in the comments, and don't put LSD. I could find myself with no drug. Get that out of here. That's not what we're talking about here. But Chris, is there another way to better find your way to escape setting the wrong goal?
Yeah, I think meditation's a really good one, doing it with yourself. And I think you can also do it with a trusted coach or a therapist, someone like that to help to push you along. And at the end, they're just asking the questions, they're prompting you. You still need to go on your own journey. You still need to figure it out on your own. So I don't think anyone can tell you. Too many people, we go to our parents, to our friends, basically asking the question, who am I? What should I do with my life? And that's a question that we can only answer ourselves. You can't ask ChatGPT. You can't ask mom or dad. The person that you have to ask is sitting there in the room with you right now, is sitting in your own head with you right now. And it's a version of you. I don't know what version it is, but it's a version of you. Maybe it's all the versions together to say that truth. I'd like to get back to the podcast a little bit and talk about what we talked about on Monday's podcast. It was really a love letter to our audience of ways to tell them that you are enough, that you are worthy of being able to negotiate for your salary, to be able to control your income to the best of your abilities. One thing that I've always hated about the financial wellness space is they always make it sound so easy. Oh, just go and make more money. Like, done. It's really as simple as that. And they're like, oh, I could have just done that at any time, just made more money. You know, it's funny in jiu-jitsu, there's a lot of times where someone will be smashed on the floor, right? And they're in side control and they just can't get up. And you'll always hear the coach on the side just be like, just get up, just get up. And it's like, oh, sorry, coach. Like, I never thought that I could just get up. It's so freaking easy. Yeah. You know, what a concept. But I find it's the same thing with like make more money. It's like, yeah, it sounds all well and good, but there's a lot of steps in between just make more money. So Monday's episode was really about different ways to show that you're worthy of more income, to be able to get a raise every year, being able to know how much you're worth in the market, being able to find ways to explore different ideas for a side hustle. And Dominic, earlier on, you said that we try to create these side hustles. We try to increase our earning potential to get us to financial independence faster. And I would say that, yes, that's a component. I think another component, in addition to getting there faster, is getting there well, enjoying the journey. Because I don't think it's all about getting to the destination as fast as we can. I think it's about getting to the destination and being so thankful along the way that we were able to make it there, enjoying it. And I think that's what doing your own side hustle, that's what negotiating for yourself, it allows you to enjoy the journey more. Because if you're getting paid what you believe you're worth at work, you're going to enjoy the journey more. If you are creating a side hustle, something that you love, from the rip, pivot, and jam method, from buying a business, from finding everyday friction, from the intersection method, you're growing, you're doing better, you're learning, you feel like you're helping the community, you're going to enjoy the journey a lot more. And yeah, you might get there faster, you might get there slower. I don't know what the outcome is going to be, but I can say if you enjoy the journey, then you're going to be able to walk a lot farther.
You know, that's such an interesting take. That's such an interesting take. And I don't think I've ever even considered that. I never even considered happiness along the journey. That's such an interesting take. I think you're spot on with that. I mean, it is very important to enjoy what you're doing. And like you said, fall in love. I've always heard and believed that, you have to fall in love with the process, right? But to hear it in that context, enjoy it. You should enjoy what you're doing. It'll make you go further. I love that. I think you're spot on with that. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that you mentioned in there was the self-worth aspect of it and the mental health aspect of it. Oftentimes people don't believe that they deserve a raise. Oftentimes that might be because of a boss, might be because of an image problem, a self-image problem. Maybe it's something that was installed in them that, hey, you're not good enough. You're just not good enough. Other people get raised, not you. Other people. And that's such a dangerous way of thinking because you're neglecting yourself out of a life that could be so much better. Maybe this job just isn't even for you. Maybe you were forced into this job by the recommendation of your parents or your friends or your colleagues, right? So I hope that you believe that you deserve more. And when I wrote it in my notes from Monday, Self-worth, do you deserve a raise? I think it's deeper than just the money. Self-worth, do you deserve a better life? I think is a more accurate question. And I'm not sure how to start believing that you need a better life, but the first step I would think is to recognize it. That you've been kind of touting on yourself, you've been down on yourself. It's like, no, everybody deserves a better life. Everybody deserves a better life. And maybe that's enough to just get the ball rolling, right? And that's what I love about today's episode too, is we talked a little bit about, you know, how to negotiate to get a better salary, right? How to be better. How to maybe it's not all about the money. Maybe you're like, Dom, I'm good. I have enough money. It's like, awesome. I love that. Can we negotiate like Chris's wife did? Can we negotiate more paid time off, more vacation, right? And it's those little things in life that I think are so important. But I want to pass the ball back to you, Chris. And what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're talking about deeper philosophical questions than about money. And that's what I love about the podcast is we get to use money as this jumping off. Why do people not feel worthy to be able to ask for more? Why do they feel like they're not enough just by their existence, just by being born? Like I believe that everyone is enough. I think that we live in a culture, though, that takes that individual specialness and just crushes it down to make you feel like you're nothing and to make you feel like you should just be excited just to be even offered a job, like because you're so nothing. I've heard times where people have said, only people that work deserve healthcare. Only people that work have meaning or have value. And for that, I agree that working is important. But if you believe that work is the only thing that brings you value in this world, you're probably not going to have a great life. I think it was in last week's episode, last Mondays, we were talking about ways to spend. And we asked the question, are you what you have? Are you what you do? Or are you who you are? And I think that too many people, and this is the other side of the coin of increasing your income, we hamstring ourselves to, I am what I do.
Yeah.
And if that's who you are, that's a very fickle way of going through life. Meaning that you have the chance to die many times over before your actual inevitable death. So it's important to diversify who you are and be who you are is who you are, not what you do, not what you have, none of those things. It's who you are at your core. And that's what it comes back to Dominic's point of finding your why. Who are you? What do you value? What do you love? These are harder, deeper questions that we can't answer here in a 45-minute podcast. Only you can answer it for yourself. But we do want to let you know, to all of our guys and gals listening out there, that we think you're perfect exactly the way that you are. We know that you're enough, and we hope that you can see that too, that you're deserving of whatever you want in this life. We say it a lot. It was one of my favorite quotes from Ray Dalio. It's, you can have anything you want in life, but you can't have everything. There are always trade-offs. So there is no right way or wrong way to live, or maybe there's a wrong way to live, but there's no right way to live. They're just different ways of doing things. So you get to figure out what's your trade-offs. What do you want out of your life, and what are you willing to go ahead to do to get it? But if you want more money, if you want to have your own side hustle, if you want to live your dream, the only thing that's stopping you is you. I promise you, if you're listening to this podcast, you are in the top 1% of civilization in all of human history. There is no one holding you down. You're not confined by chains. You have the ability to go and do whatever you want. Too many times we use the word, I can't do something, to mask the truth of I don't want to do something, or I'm not willing to do something. I'm not willing and I don't want to is not the same as I'm being held down from doing something. I can't do it no matter what I wanted to do. Because I promise you, if the pain gets strong enough, the pain gets hard enough, you will jump. You will change something. So why wait your entire life until that pain builds up enough that you explode and have to implode your life in some midlife crisis? Why not just make that change today and save yourself a lot of pain in the future? Because nothing's holding you back but yourself.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, I couldn't agree more. If you can learn how to change for the better, without the pain. Man, that's a powerful skill. That is a powerful skill, you know. So I want to keep us moving forward as we get closer and closer to our viewer mailbag. What kind of final thoughts do we have about Monday's podcast before we move on? I know we talked a lot about Monday's podcast, a lot of great stuff in there. What were like the 3 things that you want to mention before we move on to our next segment, Chris?
I'm just going to give you one thing.
Okay.
And that's I really want you to stick to the action step of the week. And that was, I just wanted you to choose one of the following things. Ask your manager for a raise or performance feedback. Reach out to a recruiter in your field. Launch a mini side hustle, which means just posting your services on a social network or somewhere in the community. Or list your skills and your passions to start brainstorming side hustle ideas. Information without action is just entertainment. I love that people come here every week and they listen to what we say, but I want them to start to implement the things that we're saying to increase their lives right now. And the only way to do that, to your point that you made on Monday, you can read as many books as you want about running, as many books as you want about jujitsu, as many books as you want about lifting. You're not going to become the next great Olympic runner, jujitsu player, or freaking Arnold Schwarzenegger by reading. You have to go into the arena and do. All of the knowledge, all of the growth is in the doing. And growth is uncomfortable. Growth sucks. And it's the only way forward.
Absolutely. Growth is the only way forward. It's a scary thought to think, if you don't ask for more, are you willing and okay with being at the same level for the rest of your life? I hope not. I hope not. I hope you're not okay with that. If you're the same person a year from now, I'm sorry. I believe that you should constantly be on the move. And I'm not saying you have to be fluent in Spanish in 1 year. I'm not saying you have to be broke to 100K in 1 year. I'm not saying that everything must be better, but every day you should go to war with yourself and with the things around you. And whether that's a mental battle, whether that's a physical battle, right? The constant improvement, the constant growth for people like us is what makes life interesting. It makes it worth living. And I hope that you guys are living a great life. And I hope you're not staying the same. With that being said, we're going to move on to our viewer mailbag. We call this 5 Friday feedback. And this is an interesting part of the podcast. We've got a doozy of a message today, a little bit of a longer one, which I'm excited to read. So let's get right into it. Today's letterhead: I don't know what to do anymore. We're drowning and I'm out of lifelines. Maybe some of you have been in this exact situation we're going to talk about here today. If so, let's take a listen. Howdy, Fi Guys. I honestly hesitated before writing this because I didn't want to sound like another hopeless case. But I've listened to your podcast long enough to know that you don't shy away from the messy middle of people's financial lives. I'm knee deep in it. No, scratch that. I am drowning. My husband and I get a life. We're going to need a life raft. My husband and I have never really been financially comfortable. We've always just made enough to get by. Paycheck to paycheck isn't even the right words. It's more like paycheck to 3 days before the next paycheck. We've managed like this barely for years. But this year broke us. It started with my husband's medical emergency. Out of nowhere, hence the emergency part. He needed specialized equipment that cost us hundreds that we didn't really have. Insurance didn't cover it, of course. And then a few months later, I was told that I needed surgery. Not optional, not a cosmetic butt lift, a life-threatening, mandatory surgery. And while I'm still in recovery, I haven't been able to take on any work or any side work. It feels like life just decided to put us both in chokehold at the exact same time. We've racked up credit card debt. We've racked up credit cards we swore we'd never open. We've even taken out payday advances that feel like financial quicksand. I've sold furniture, old clothes, anything of value we had, but it's just not enough. nothing is. Every time I think I've got a plan to get us ahead by even 1 week, something else hits. A bounced charge, a random bank fee, a bill we thought we had covered, then suddenly posts again. Just yesterday, I checked my account expecting to see over $100 left after our phone bill. Instead, we were negative $250. The bank insists that everything is correct on their end, but the worst part is, that because of the overdraft, we can't even access our payday advance, which we have to be within $100 of zero to unlock. And right now, we need at least 150 to qualify for that very tool just to rely on to survive. I cannot stop crying, not because I'm weak, but because I'm exhausted, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. I've cried during every single payday for the last 4 months. It's like financial PTSD with every direct deposit triggered dread instead of relief. We've owed hundreds this week alone, and I've already borrowed from family with a promise to pay them back with our tax refund. But tax season feels like a lifetime away, and we still have to survive November. What hurts most is the shame. It feels like I've done everything I'm supposed to do: sell stuff, downsize, cut bills, borrow only when desperate, and still, it's not enough. I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't want to fight with my husband about gas money or skip meals so our dog can eat. But that's where we're at. If there's anything you can offer, advice, a shift in perspective, even a moment of hope, I'll take it. I'm writing to you not just for guidance, but because I'm hoping that if someone else is going through this too, maybe they'll feel a little less alone hearing my story. Thanks for reading this. I wish I had some better news to share, but now this is my truth. From bills are due, hope is few, what can we do? Oh,
Jesus Christ.
We've had some bad ones in the past, but this one, I don't know. This one hurts.
Yeah.
This one definitely hurts. This one breaks my heart a little bit. They've been steered wrong their whole life, and now it's time to put them on the right course. But where do we start, Chris?
Man, I don't know if we're going to be able to really fix their financial issues in a Five Friday feedback viewer mailbag.
Yeah.
But we're definitely going to talk about quite a few things here. The first thing I want to talk about is I love our country. I love living in America. I'm so glad that my grandparents immigrated here. And there are things about this, like the fact that medical debt, somebody having the audacity to get sick, is the leading cause of people going into bankruptcy. And these people have it. It sounds like the husband had something and then the wife had something, and that was the thing that pushed him over the edge. Just a few weeks ago, my wife and I, we have health insurance, and she went for her normal checkup and we got a $500 bill in the mail. We have good health insurance. And when we called the health insurance, because we thought this must be a mistake, they said, oh no, we cover your checkup, but we don't cover blood work. So thankfully we had the $500 to be able to pay that bill after trying to negotiate, after trying to do all the things that we know how to do. And I couldn't imagine how bad it would be if we didn't have that money. This is what happens when a system is fundamentally broken. And we can't fix it here on this podcast. But we're trying to help this person to at least give them some hope, to show them that they're not alone and that they're not crazy and they're not anything. So first off, to our listener, I want to let you know that you're not weak. Using that word is so beyond disempowering. You're not crazy. And most importantly, you are not lazy. And you're not alone. You're not alone in this. There are many people right now who are going through this. They just don't have the bravery or the knowledge to reach out for help. So the pain that you're in, it's real and it's extremely valid. What you're feeling, your exhaustion, your shame, the panic, the anxiety, that's exactly what happens when the system that we have fails regular, hardworking people like you. Fails you for having the audacity to get injured. Fails you for having the audacity to get sick for some reason. How dare you? And of course, I'm being as facetious as I possibly can because it's bullshit that we live in a place that can happen, where we've put profits over people time and time again. And now we're kind of in the fourth turning. We're in this place where people are getting fed up because you're in survival mode, not in failure mode. When your nervous system is a shot and a stress with every single decision, it feels like a crisis. And when you're in this crisis, this place that you're in right now, it's impossible to think strategically. You're not bad at money. You're in a state where strategy isn't even accessible to you. To Dominic and I, because we're not in the situation, we can see a path through, but you're the one that has to go through it. Because at this point, to you, to our listener, your situation isn't a math problem anymore. It's an emotional freaking war zone. I mean, it sounds to me like you're fighting fires just to try to survive. And when you're fighting fires, just trying to survive, when you're face down the muzzle, just focused on one thing, you're not planning anymore. And that's okay for right now. The first step isn't budgeting. It's about stabilizing your nervous system and your environment just enough to take a breath, to get out of the fog for a moment, to be able to detach, as Jocko Willink would say, just to be able to get some breathing room to go ahead and stop and see what it is that I need to do. So with that being said, you need to stop beating yourself up for what you quote unquote should have done. Regret is just burning energy that you need to take action. You've made smart and hard choices. It sounds like you've sold items. You've borrowed within a plan. You've hustled through recovery to try to get there. And that's survival. That's grit. That survival is important. And that survival you can only stay in for so long before your body starts to break down and we have bigger issues. Right now, your only job is to regain some control over your next 7 days. If your next 7 days sounds too big, control over your next day, over your next hour. Forget about the mountain of debt. Forget about the rest of the month. What do you need to survive until your next paycheck? We need to break this giant chasm that we're looking into, this giant monster of, I don't know, a rock creature into little pebbles. What can we do to take a little bit out of this at a time? Because it sounds like your advances in your overdraft situation, it's a freaking trap. It's not a tool. So we need to start planning for your exit strategy now, because it sounds like you've already been doing it. Even if that takes 2 months, 6 months, a year, we can help you figure out how. But just know, no one gets rich on payday advance systems. It's designed to keep you stuck. I understand why you used it, because you needed to, but I don't know how long you've been doing that for. So we need to get out of that trap, because it sounds to me like you're trying to solve a structural issue with emotional effort. And that's just not sustainable. At some point, you're going to need to either make more income or a radical pause on the outflows. And the outflows means anything that money is going out. And if that means that we have to do a hardship withdrawal program, deferment, or even legal assistance, bankruptcy, we need to do something to either bring more money in or spend less money out. Because right now, where you're at is it's effed. And it's effed for reasons that sounds to me like it's not your fault. I know you said you were living paycheck to paycheck before for a long time. So maybe there could have been something you could have done in the past, but it doesn't matter. We don't have access to that anymore. All we can do is something we can do today to make progress. And I'm sorry that you had the medical issues that pushed you over the edge, and just know that you're not alone for that. So to our listener, have you looked into nonprofit credit counseling to consolidate your high interest debt into one single low payment? Have you looked for community hardship grants or mutual aid groups, especially for post-surgery? Have you tried calling your creditors and actually asked them for any way to pause or for hardship deferment? And hardship is HARDSHIP. That's the words that you need to use when you're talking about financial hardship, when you're talking about with your creditors of ways to do things. Another thing you can always do is reach out to local churches or organizations with emergency financial aid, not loans. I think too many people, when they get stuck in this situation, they're just so stuck, eyes down the barrel of, I have to take care of this debt, I have to take care of this debt. And there are so many systems out there that are meant to help people in this situation. Unfortunately, we don't advertise them and people don't know about them. So you need to be the person to be your own advocate, to go out there and look to find places to help you. And if you can't find a place to help you, you need to be willing to know that you're worth negotiating for yourself. Call your creditors, ask for help. The worst thing they can tell you is no. They're not going to double your debt just because you asked for something. I don't know how long this is going to take you to get out of. I hope it's fast, but unfortunately, there's nothing that Dominic and I can say today that's going to get you from where you are to where you want to go quickly. Long term, and I know that this is going to sound shitty for me to say this, long term, when you look back on this in 10, 20 years, this will make you a freaking financial badass. Not today, not tomorrow, but one day, you'll look back and realize that this season, this tough, shitty season that you survived, put the kind of pressure on you that would break most people. And the pain that you're going through one day, the pain you're going through right now will be your superpower. So in the short term, let's just help create just a simple triage plan. You know, when you come up on a medical scene and there's a bunch of things, you need a triage. Who can we save? I think it was green, orange, red.
Yeah.
We need to just find all the things green. So we need to prioritize our food, our shelter, and our meds. Everything else can wait. Your health is the most important things, those basic needs. I need you to get enough cash flow. If that means side hustles, that means work, if that means whatever we possibly can to regain some access to those payday advances. I don't want you to lean on them for a long time, but you need to have access to that to at least survive. And then I want you to use that moment to set up a 1-day buffer, then a 2-day buffer, and then a 3-day buffer, and then a week-long buffer. We just keep on growing it slowly over time. Eventually, once you're back at zero, don't aim for wealth. Aim for boring stability, not luxury. Once we get to boring stability, then we can reach for generational wealth for all of the things that you want. But right now, I don't want you to put the goal so far out of reach that you don't even try to attain it. And most importantly, I want you to keep reaching out. You can always go to chris@monsonwealth.com. You can always ask for more help. I'll do as much as I possibly can for you. And if I can't help you, I'll point you in the right directions. Don't go quietly. Write us back. You don't need to have all the answers right now. Just stay in the conversation. You're not alone. You're not alone in any way, shape, or form. And this is not permanent. This doesn't have to be permanent if you take actions every single day. I'm so sorry you're going through this, but big hugs from Arizona, big hugs from California. We know you can make it through. We believe in you. And this is just the way that it is. And you're going to make it through one step at a time. There's people out there that want to help. You just have to seek them out like you did here today. Dominic, what do you think?
Same.
Ditto.
Took the words out of my mouth. No, I sometimes on your mailbags, I can kind of give my 2 cents and offer some good advice. But this one was pretty deep. This one was a little bit hairy. I don't think there's anything I can say that you haven't already said. That's why, it's the student and the master. I am the student, you're the master, right? But I think you're right. I think it's important to frame it in the right framework and remember that you'll look back on this time and when you're out of the storm and you're in good place now, and you'll say, I wouldn't want to go through that again, but I'm glad it happened. I'm glad it happened for what became of it, right? For what it did to me, for what it turned me into. It turned me into a fiscally responsible, emotionally hardened human being that can take on any task. And as long as you look at the situation like that, I think you're going to make it out of it, right? But understand that, this too shall pass. But it takes action. Things don't pass by themselves. You have to take action. And I hope what Chris was saying here inspired you to take action and take control and take back your life.
And that's sometimes the hardest things from Dom's and our perspective is that we can't do it for you. Like, you have to be the hero of your own story. There's sometimes we'll get comments where it's like, well, I was hoping that you would tell me the secrets to doing it. And the secret is there is no secret. Sometimes all that Dominic can do is just encourage you to get back up on the horse, to try again. Because there's nothing we can do that's going to fix this person's problem in a second. They have to go on that journey, and all we can do is be a guide to help them keep on walking down that path. And if you're watching this and you're like, oh, I wanted the secret to my debt payoff, there is no secret. we're going to help to fix the mindset, because the mindset is the thing that's going to keep you walking down the path. We told you all the tips and the tricks, and that's all we can do. We can't do it for anybody else.
Well, with that being said, we wish you the best of luck from Arizona and from California. We're going to be moving on to our next segment, our final segment of the podcast, where we try and end the episode on a little bit of a higher note, where we also encourage you to join in this part of the podcast and share with us down in the comments what your win of the week would be. If you have one, please drop it down below. For us, we're going to share ours right now. I'm going to go first today, just because usually if you're a fan of the podcast, Chris usually has a better win of the week than me. But hey, I'm living a good life. I ain't complaining. I'm happy with where I am right now, and I'm excited to push myself to go even further. For my win of the week, I got a bunch of new PRs at the gym, and I accredit that to consistency and a new kind of machine. The new machines I've been using. The gym I go to, like any gym, they've got the free weights, they've got the machines, they've got all sorts of stuff. But what I like about this gym is they have these weird, like, I don't know how to describe it, like mechanical electronic machines. And it's really bizarre. You sit on it, you put your height, and it adjusts it for you. And then you do like a max strength, and then it gives you the proper weight you should be working out at. And I love that. And I've noticed where I lack most is in my delts. Usually my side delts, my front delts, my rear delts are fine. They're freakishly large compared to the other ones. But I've noticed that I've been really getting great workouts on these machines. I mean, the type of workouts where, 12 reps in, I'm just like, oh man, I'm out of breath. And that's exactly how I want to be. So I credit that to that. So I'm really excited. I've been having great wins, great PRs in the gym this week. Also, I started vlogging again, which I'm really passionate about, which I'm really excited about. And but this week has been a stressful week, hence the new PRs. Usually stress, I can get an even better workout when I'm stressed, right? Just get it all out. But we're getting through it, and we're conquering it, and we're destroying it, and anything that will stand in our way will be destroyed momentarily. So that's kind of the framework we're rocking with this week. So those are my 2 wins of the week. Chris, what do you have for your wins of the week? You destroying anything this week?
Nothing destroyed this week, but I do want to just commend you for sticking with it. Like you said there, like there's nothing you can do sometimes, but just go through it. And like that's the sad truth of it, is that there is nothing people can say. There's nothing people can do. There's no ways to fix it, but just to go through the storm. And that's what you're sticking with. So with my win of the week, my wife and I just got back from a few days long trip to go visit some of our best friends up in Oregon. And, it was just a great time. Recently I went on another trip, and on that trip, I brought up the book, The 5 Regrets of the Dying, just to some friends, and we were talking about it. And one of the 5 regrets that people have on their deathbed is that they lost touch with their friends. So my wife and I have really just made it a mission of ours to not have that regret at the end of our lives. So it's harder as you get older because your friends spread out. I have now friends all over the United States, New York, Oregon, Arizona, Texas. It gets more, Hawaii. It gets more and more difficult. Like they're literally everywhere. It gets difficult, but it's nice to have the ability to go and spend time, not just virtually, but in person with people. So I recommend that when you're trying to plan your trips, try to plan them around friendship, around ways to connect with people, because there's really nothing much better than looking at that moment to be like, wow, I got to have that time with them. I think it's very precious moments. So keep that in mind as you guys are going through your lives too.
And that was The 5 Regrets of the Dying was the book that you were referencing. That's a pretty solid book.
Yes, definitely. I would definitely recommend it. I was very lucky to read that when I was younger along my journey. I didn't heed the words enough when I was younger. So now I'm trying to tell everyone to read that now and understand that now, because money isn't the goal. Money just helps facilitate the goal. And that book helps to put in perspective what your goals might be. or at least gives you a direction to where to look for your goals.
Absolutely. And I know not Monday's episode, but last week's episode, we did talk a little bit about them. And I'm just going to briefly, I know we're at the end of the podcast. I'm just going to briefly say the 5 things that were in that book. Number 1 was, I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. Number 2 was, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. Number 3, I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. Number 4, I wish I had stayed in touch with friends. Chris, you are living out that one this week. And number 5, I wish that I had let myself be happier. Just wanted to recap that real quick to finish off this week's podcast. I know we had a difficult mailbag and an interesting intro. So that is going to be our podcast for the week, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Make sure to share it with someone that you care about. In fact, share it with anybody, right? Even if they're an enemy, a friend, a foe, anybody, just share it. Just share it. Because it's so much more fun going on this journey together. And you go so much further when you're with a friend. Any final thoughts, Chris, before we close out the episode?
No, I just want to thank our listeners. Remember that you're the hero of your own journey. We're just here to help guide you as best as we can, and in a generalized nature. So if you need any more help, please reach out to us in the comments. Let us know what we can do. If you want anything specific, or you want to even be featured on Fi Friday Feedback Viewer Mailbag, you can email us at thefiveguysvideopodcast@gmail.com, or more easily, just go to thefiveguys.com, click that feedback tab, let us know what's up, and we'll get you on the podcast if the mood feels us.
Alrighty, guys. Well, that's gonna be it for us. We're the Five Guys. I'm Chris. He's Tom. I'm Dom. He's Chris. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Later, guys.
Later. This video podcast is sponsored by Monzon Wealth. The content in this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice. We do not endorse specific products or services. Past performance does not guarantee future results. The opinions expressed are those of the host and guests, not the podcast sponsor.
It is crucial to consult with a qualified financial advisor or professional who can provide advice tailored to your specific needs before making any financial decisions, investments, or taking any other actions. If you are seeking specified help, you can reach out to Chris at monzonwealth.com.